Ahoy hoy, I'm Planet Walk, and something that is constantly asked of flat earthers is if they can provide a model. Now there have been several attempts. The one that they tend to default to though is the AE map, until people point out, there's a South Celestial Pole as well. There is also the fact that every flat earth map that has been presented so far is a projection of the globe. But recently there has been a new flat earth map to come out, which is also a projection of the globe. But this flat earth map is not the flat earth map that you would expect. You see, this new and revolutionary flat earth map is just the McKitten projection. You see, a flat earther called Jake the Arsehole thinks that he's managed to find evidence that the real flat earth map is just the McKitten projection. Let's take a look at this evidence, shall we?
All right, so Shay was saying that our world basically, as we know it, ends at this international date line. Like, that's basically our cutoff point. And when you look at Google Maps, you'll see it runs between Alaska and Russia through the Bering Sea. And then right here in between Japan and America, you have this international date line. And people were saying, what about the flights from California, for instance, LAX? You can catch a direct flight to Japan in about 11 and a half to 12 hours.
So, if the international dateline is the end of the world, then flat earthers now have no excuses. Because their whole excuse for not going to Antarctica to take a photo of the edge was, well, the Antarctic Treaty forbids us, even though it doesn't. But now they can't use that excuse. There is no treaty that forbids you from crossing the international dateline. So why not grab a boat and just cross the international dateline? See if you can find the edge. Now, of course, they're not going to do it because it tends not to work out in their favour when they try and prove their model. But of course, as he correctly pointed out, there is also the issue of flights. There are many flights that go from somewhere in America to somewhere in New Zealand, Australia, or Asia, and vice versa. So let's see how Jake tries to explain these.
And so the first thing I did was I looked into some flights and their routes, and then I also found one that was in the air, and I pulled it up on a flight tracker, and I found two different routes on two different sites. Neither one of them makes sense to me.
Well, flat earthers tend not to be able to make sense of things, so that is to be expected.
Here you can see LA on the right side of the screen. And if you were to just take a straight western path, you would run right into Tokyo, basically. Like, you would barely even need to travel north. So from LA, if you were to just take a straight line western path, you'd hit Tokyo. And then they say that they don't take that route because it's too dangerous. So when they show the flight route, what they say they do is go up into Alaska, all the way up here into the Bering Sea, and then come down into Tokyo.
So the reason why that path is taken is not because it's too dangerous to take the path that you suggested, but because it's the shortest path. The path that you suggested is not the shortest path. You see, the McKitten projection is just a projection of the globe, and therefore it is distorted. And just because something looks like it's a straight line from one point to another point on the McKitten projection, it doesn't mean that that is actually a straight line on the globe. A good example of this is what is the shortest path from Alaska to Sweden. Now, if you were to take the McKitten projection and just draw a straight line from Alaska to Sweden, that would be incorrect, because the shortest route would actually be to just go over the Arctic. This is because on a sphere, going over the Arctic is much faster than following whatever line you drew on the McKitten projection. Remember, a sphere is a three-dimensional shape, not a two-dimensional one. So in order to get the shortest path on a sphere, you need to think in 3 dimensions.
And look at the path it says it's taking, that it's going to go north into Alaska, and then it's going to do this U-turn, and then go across the country, all the way across the world, and then it's going to go to Tokyo, like down here. And so this flight path right here doesn't make any sense.
So there are good reasons for that being the flight path that it shows. Yes, there could have been better ways to represent it, but the developers decided to go with that. Maybe. You see, that particular flight tracker will not let you scroll over too far. So it would be kind of weird if flight routes went off screen. So obviously they opted for one that honestly looks quite weird. They also probably took a whole lot of shortcuts to try and make their job easier, because that's what programmers do.
And in real time, we're looking at the plane.
We're looking at this plane turn.
This is right now in the air, a flight tracker, and this plane took off from Los Angeles 3 hours ago. It says that it's going northwest into Alaska, but they have the exact opposite listed on the screen, with the plane looks like it's headed back towards. Well, look at it go! Look at what it's doing!
Oh my goodness! Now, what is it doing?
What the heck was that?
Caught.
So now they have it headed back towards Alaska again.
So yes, that was pretty weird, but I can guarantee you that the plane did not turn around like that, if that's what you're thinking. Because think about it, why would a plane that's going in a particular direction, just for shits and giggles, turn itself around and then turn itself around again? Especially at the rate that you saw it turn around, because planes, I don't think they turn around that fast. What happened there was some kind of error. And judging by what I've seen of this website, it doesn't seem to be the best made website in the universe.
And so when I click Flight Aware, we get a completely different route.
Completely different. Okay.
So Flight Aware shows that they're going to go north into Alaska and then drop south into Tokyo.
So that website really does seem to be far better developed than the other website that you showed. The reason why the route looks different is because it doesn't have the artifacts that the other one has due to lazy programming. And lazy programming will be responsible. In fact, I'm pretty sure that there is a simple fix to it.
This is the sources that they list. So I'm not choosing some random quacky flight tracker. They list these as their official sources. And the first one that they list is the one that shows that the U-turn in Alaska and that they head back east.
Okay, so let me tell you something. You have these sources here, right? These sources aren't necessarily official. You've got the source which it uses, but then you've also got another source. But below that, you've got a feedback button, and you can give suggestions. If you're to click, something else is wrong and add a comment about, the source being a little bit incorrect, they might take that feedback on board and change their sources. The feedback button is there because a lot of these are actually auto-generated, and sometimes they may use a dubious source. So it's not that it's an official source, it's that scouring the web has found a website that seems to show this flight and goes, okay, this is the site that we're using to display the information that we are showing you. Google doesn't always have the time to go and check every website that it might recommend, because guess what? Websites are constantly going online and offline. For example, there is an MMO that released a while back called New World, and I searched this up thinking, oh yeah, I'll be able to see what the game looks like. Turns out that the first recommendation is the New World supermarket, because I'm from New Zealand and it thought, this person is probably talking about the supermarket, not the game. In fact, the New World game is quite far down on the list. It's near the bottom of the page. And it's not really Google's fault, because Google does have to decide, okay, what is this person probably actually searching for? When most people in New Zealand search New World, they're probably expecting to see results about the supermarket, not the game. So Google saw that I was in New Zealand and thought, they're probably expecting to see results about the supermarket, so let's show that. It doesn't mean that these things are official, it's just that Google think that that is the most relevant thing to you.
See there? I zoom in on it. And look what the path did. Look what it did. Tell me that is natural. Tell me that's just some website screw up.
I was thinking maybe you had to go drop some you-know-what trails real quick.
Look at how many,
what is it doing?
Why would it drop them way out there in the middle of the ocean? That doesn't make sense. You get what I mean? Like, that right there doesn't make any sense.
I'm sorry to tell you, Jake, but it is simply a problem with the website. Why would the plane fly around like that otherwise? Even if you think that it's because they're spraying chemtrails or something, really doesn't make sense that they would turn around and do it and make it so noticeable. Because remember, there are passengers on that plane. If the plane was really turning around and doing all that stuff, you'd think the passengers would be kind of suspicious of that, wouldn't you? Makes far more sense if it's just a computer error. See, you don't need a conspiracy to explain that.
Oh yeah, look at the, I want to stress, look at the speed now. Now it shows it's going 510 KTS, miles an hour, 500.
So I just want to point something out. KTS means knots, and 1 knot is 1 nautical mile per hour, not 1 mile per hour, because a nautical mile is different to a mile.
So earlier when it was out in the ocean, near like, let's say Washington State, out in the ocean, it was doing like 330 miles an hour. Now it's doing 500, over 500. So that's a major difference if you can go 150 to 200 miles an hour difference just on a whim. So the speed will actually shoot up and down over and over again.
Well, yeah, because the speed of the plane can change. Weather is a thing. Wind will slow it down or speed it up. That is a very weird thing to point out. I don't even get why you would point that out.
It's getting to this line right here. And that is where the fun happens. All right, guys. Countdown to the magic. Keep watching. Don't blink. Whoop! There it goes! There it goes!
There he goes. He got it.
Goes! I could not believe what I had just saw.
Look how
I
fast.
could not believe my own eyes. Shay, I started freaking out. And then I couldn't find it, so check it out. That's my cursor trying to catch up with the plane. I started dragging to catch up with the plane on the screen, and I found it over Russia, and it's booking it. Going backwards to the east.
Backwards. The plane's backwards.
The plane is backwards.
Going
and
east.
It is booking it as fast as I can pull the screen as it refreshes. It's freaking booking it as fast as it can go. It goes past Russia, out into the ocean, and then disappears off the screen.
Surely you can't actually believe that that plane is actually going that speed. Because flat earthers say, well, if the earth was spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, then we would all feel it. Well, that plane is going faster than 1,000 miles an hour, if you believe that that is what is actually happening. In fact, if this is the actual flat earth map, then that plane would be going 400 miles per second. And considering that it was only doing about 400 knots before it reached the line, 400 knots to 400 miles per second is certainly quite the jump. That's a lot of acceleration. I actually think that that is far more acceleration than any human would be able to handle. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that that was due to a programming error, because otherwise there would be so many problems wrong with that.
Disappears from the screen. So at this point, I back up, I hit the minus, and I can't see it on the screen. I'm like, where in the freak did it freaking go? I'm trying not to cuss so that I can be monetized. so now I find it again. Now it's over the top of the United States, near where Shay lives. Flying backwards again. Flying backwards again. In reverse.
This plane is all over the place. It's just going from one side to the other side to the other side to the other side, almost as if this is caused by a computer error. It's just so obvious what's going on here. Who's buying it? Who's sitting there going, ah yes, this is impeccable logic from Jake here. I'm sorry, but if you actually think that what is being shown there on screen is what that plane is actually doing, then you are a moron and you need to evaluate how you ended up thinking such nonsense. It should be obvious to anyone with a functional human brain that what is happening on screen is not what is happening in real life. When it comes to Jake, there are two options. Either A, he is a complete and utter dimbleflop, or B, he is just trying to see what his audience will eat up.
Now, how in the hell is a website in 2022 that is recommended as the main flight tracker for this flight, how is it making a mistake like this? Javid, what this means is they're obviously manipulating the flight data. If you have to go to Alaska to get to Japan, something's wrong to begin with. And this just shows they might not even really be going up there, man. You might just think that's what's happening. So if you're on these planes, you might think you know what direction you're heading, but holy shit, these flight trackers don't seem to show that.
Well, Jake, firstly, you need to learn how to think in 3 dimensions. Maybe check what the Great Circle route from California to Japan is. I can guarantee you that it will go closer to Alaska than you would think. And the second thing is, if the flight data is being manipulated, why would it show something weird like that? Something so obviously wrong? Couldn't they just manipulate the flight data so that it flies the expected route?
Now it's flying sideways. And at that rate of speed, it's way faster than it should be going.
Because the jet stream's just flipping it all around, so it's at 428 now.
Please tell me what kind of jet stream would make a plane go 400 miles per second, because I really want to know. If there were a jet stream that actually exists, don't you think that air companies would make a hell of a lot of use of that? You know, just instant travel from one area to another?
I knew people were going to deny the computer program, and they're just going to say it's the computer's fault. It's not really doing that.
But why would the computer be wrong?
Here's my thing. If it's going to Alaska to get to Japan, something ain't right.
It's weird that she would say, why would the computer be wrong? Like the computer is God or something. Look, humans program computers. When you're a computer programmer, you may make mistakes, or you might just program the easiest option. As a programmer myself, I will often do what is easier, unless I feel particularly generous and decide, you know what, the users deserve something special today. I also make a ton of mistakes because nothing ever works the first time you try it. Just ask any programmer about that and they'll have the same story.
So I don't trust this route either. I can see they manipulated it, but I think if anything, they could quickly fucking, just go up here and then shoot over and then come back down, or possibly even go up here. And then if the map's just not quite correct either, we need to do a little messing around with some of the continents maybe. There might even be some sort of jet stream up north that you can get going super fast or something.
They're really making it sound as though jet streams are just literal magic go fast places, aren't they? But also, they're only thinking about the flights going that particular way. What about if the flight's going in the opposite direction? Like if a flight's going in the opposite direction, it's not going to be able to use the same jet stream. Because, spoilers, jet streams are going in a particular direction. Like, flat earthers, please just think about this for 5 minutes. Maybe consider that Jake isn't the smartest human being in the world. Also, another thing that you can do is just go on the flight yourself and take things like compass and a GPS with you. That way, you would be able to see if the flight is taking the path that they say that it's taking. Why don't you do that? I would also suggest taking an accelerometer because that's probably going to be quite useful as well.
Yeah, they say the land masses are wrong, that Africa is actually bigger, that Greenland is actually smaller. I think Greenland's so big to cover up part of the north.
Or it could be, and just bear with me, that it's a projection of a globe, and when you project a globe to a 2D surface, land masses get distorted.
Yeah, why would it glitch that in a way that wasn't in their favor? Why would it glitch like that?
What? Like, do you think that glitches only exist because they favor NASA or something? Like, glitches don't particularly favor anyone. They're glitches because they're unexpected. They're not supposed to happen. Now, I'm going to show you a bit of another stream that he did, because he really is trying to promote the Mercator projection as the flat Earth map at all costs.
Looks like I got a super chat coming in. PJC Net with a 5, I guess that's euros.
So that is £5, otherwise known as £5. Euros is a different symbol. I get that you're not from the UK and you might not know this kind of stuff, but I'm not from the UK either, and I know this kind of stuff. Anyway, if Jake is watching this, well, hopefully he learned something.
We know where Los Angeles is, We know where Japan is. So do you think a boat is just going to go ahead and take this straight line across here? You would think so, that a boat would take the straight line. Or is the boat going to go up into Alaska as well, like the plane does? Let's find out, shall we? A 1, a 2, a 3, calculate. Now, I already know what happens, but you guys don't. You ready for this? You ready for this? You ready for this? Here it comes! Booyah! What's up? What's up? You want to go from Los Angeles by boat to Japan? That's the route you gotta take.
Oh, so you found another badly programmed website. A website that doesn't even use HTTPS. Not off to a good start there. Anyway, I've decided to put in the port of Boston and the port of Lisboa. Let's see what kind of route this gives us. That's an odd looking straight up and down line there. Oh, we need to... It wants us to go onto land. That's how you get from Portugal to Boston. Oh, and look at that. That's a line that goes straight. You got to do a 90-degree turn, go down, and then do another 90-degree turn, and then go all the way to Portugal. For some reason, I don't think that this website was made that well. And here's the thing, that was the first route that I tested. Well, technically the second because I tested another route, but I thought the port would be in a different place. Actually, no, technically the third because apparently there's a port of Boston in the UK for some reason. But yeah, I really question why he's using shoddy websites here because it's almost like all the things that he's showing off are just programming errors. As a programmer myself, I can spot bad programming from a mile away. In fact, sometimes I can tell you exactly what's going wrong. So maybe Jake should just accept that some websites have shoddy programming.
Now we're going to change it up and we're going to go Los Angeles to Hawaii. Los Angeles to Hawaii. Just to show you guys that this thing doesn't calculate all the routes going the wrong way. See? Oh. What the hell? Oh, it still has the other one up on the screen. Hold on, let me refresh the screen. It still had the last route on the screen.
Told you it was shoddily built. That's just more evidence for my case. In fact, it shouldn't be too difficult to just clear the map. If they're using an API, there should be a function that does that. I've used Google Maps API before and used polylines, and it was pretty easy to just get rid of polylines. In fact, I could make a list of polylines and just get rid of the polylines that I wanted to. Of course, they're not using Google Maps, but it should have some of the same functionality.
We all on board? Okay, there's Los Angeles to Hawaii. All right.
So are we just going to ignore that to get from Los Angeles to Hawaii, you need to go directly south and then take a massive 90-degree turn and then go to Hawaii? Like, do ships do that? I don't think so.
Don't get mad at me because you guys don't like what the website's showing you and it doesn't go along with what you thought in your head. I'm showing you what the website says.
All hail the website. All hail the shoddily built website.
Go try and prove that you can fly across the Pacific or that you can boat across it. You're going to start running into issues.
I wonder if my dad, Wolfie 6020, would like to give me a flight from New Zealand to America. You know, that would do it, right? Given the fact that the international dateline sits between New Zealand and America. Or better yet, rather than Wolfie and myself having to do Jake's work, Jake could always, buy a ticket himself.
How come none of the shills ever discovered this? How come Guru Mr. Eric Dubé has never looked into any of this? How come Flat Earth Dave, David Weiss never looked into this? How come Jaron never looked into this?
Because if they did, they would immediately become a laughingstock. You don't realise it, but you're pretty much becoming a laughingstock right now, Jake. Although, to be fair, they already were laughingstocks. But they would have become more of a laughingstock. If you go to marinetraffic.com, and that site uses HTTPS, all nice and secure, you can see that you've got ships all over the Pacific. Why would they be all over the Pacific if you can't go past the international date line? Oh, you got ships going all the way over here. It's almost like there's a route that they'll take from about here all the way over to here, especially with the way that they're lined up like this. Same from here all the way over to here. You got ships that are going from, what island is there? Fiji, and they appear to be going somewhere over to the east. Now I wonder what Jake would say about this. Obviously, any website that doesn't fit with what he's going with is going to be fake, you know, set up by NASA or whatever, and all his shoddy websites are going to be telling the truth. I'm sorry, Jake, but your shoddy websites do not prove that the Earth is flat. But anyway, that will be it for today. Leave a like and subscribe if you like this video. Leave a comment letting me know what you'd like me to do for future videos. As always, a big shout out to my $20 or more patrons: Hugh Jarsz, M.C.Nutkin, SHaKie, Wolfie, Morrie, Graymore Ghost, KidVicious, Sacha Campbell, Militant Agnostic, Kitten, McKitten from Kitten Town, and Craig D'Amelio. If you want to support me financially, you can do so on Patreon. There should be a link there. But anyway, I will see you in the next video. Between you and me, thank you for watching.